So it seems like Tango Gameworks might not be dead after all. I want to talk about that, why I think it's great, why I think it may be delaying the inevitable a little bit, and how this may or may not work out for Xbox and Microsoft in the long run. So if you haven't heard yet, the news is that the publisher Krafton has purchased essentially the rights to Hi-Fi Rush and has purchased the Tango Gameworks studio. And reportedly, I assume a large number of the people who were previously working there. I can't remember the exact date that Hi-Fi Rush's developer Tango Gameworks shut down, but it was fairly recently. It was over the summer, but apparently they're getting the crew back together. So Krafton is kind of an interesting studio or publisher where they're mostly known for PUBG. The PUBG developer is under them. They also have what is it, Striking Distance, as well as Unknown Worlds. So Striking Distance was the creator Glenn Schofield, I believe. The creator of Dead Space started a studio under them and released the Callisto Protocol, which ended up being pretty mediocre, not very good, really. If I have to be totally honest, I touched it for a minute and then got a refund. It didn't help that the Dead Space remake came out, I think like a month after Callisto, and was one of the best games I played last year. So, kind of bad timing for them probably, or the year before. Time is meaningless. They also have the studio Unknown Worlds, who has done Subnautica and all of its subsequent DLC and all of that, which is a pretty well-respected game. That's a game that it seems like people do genuinely enjoy and appreciate, and that's cool. Now, if you look at the rest of their situation, it's not so great. It's a lot of mobile junk, a lot of spam games, kind of, is what it is. So they've purchased Tango. An interesting part about that deal is that the Ghostwire Tokyo IP, as well as the Evil Within, did not go along with this. So this is the purchase, the acquisition was for Tango Gameworks, the studio, and the employees that are still under that, as well as Hi-Fi Rush specifically. Now, to me, that just indicates that Krafton is immediately setting them off on making Hi-Fi Rush 2, a sequel to that game, and that's cool. What's interesting about that is I assume they'll be basically starting from scratch because during the announcement of that layoff and the shutdown of the studio, we were under the impression that actually Ghostwire Tokyo 2 was the next game they were really focusing on, even though there was, I believe, some prototyping on Hi-Fi Rush 2. So I assume they'll be kind of shifting over to Hi-Fi completely since they don't even own the rights to Ghostwire anymore. I think this is obviously really cool. It's really great for, I assume, all the devs who want to stay and come along to do that, to not give up on the Tango Gameworks dream. And there is an opportunity for them to take the critical success of Hi-Fi Rush and try to make a sequel and do a thing that studio hasn't done in a long time, which is have a hit game. And that's where I kind of get in to maybe the more pessimistic side of this. The issue, as I see it, and I've seen some of this reporting, mostly people are just excited that Tango Gameworks is back, which is totally fair. But all of the issues that led to Microsoft and Xbox shutting them down, and I believe before even the acquisition of ZeniMax and Bethesda by Xbox, I'm under the impression that Tango wasn't in a great spot anyways. I think the thing I worry about is that, one of their main issues is that their founder, Mikami, left. He's one of the fathers of the Resident Evil franchise. I don't believe he had much of a hand in Hi-Fi Rush. I'm assuming he knew he was making his way out of the studio for a while. And so I believe like the director of Hi-Fi Rush is one of the people announcing that Tango's back. So that's probably a good thing. But a lot of the reason this studio had any clout at all was one, its work on The Evil Within, which was a decent horror game. I believe the first one sold extremely well. I don't think anything else they've done has really sold that well, but it still was well known for that. And just for Mikami, it was his studio. He left Capcom, and he did this thing. And so when he left, I still think that was probably their biggest problem. Now there's no clout. There's no signature thing about the studio until Hi-Fi Rush. The problem with Hi-Fi Rush is that it just didn't sell well. The last report I saw was 3 million players, but it was on Game Pass. And it was a really popular game for a hot minute, which means this is complete speculation, but I'm assuming that, half, maybe 2/3, maybe 3/4 of that player number was Game Pass people. And so, there's a chance this game didn't sell 1 million copies. There's a chance it didn't sell 500,000 copies, which is why it was such a critical darling. But it almost certainly wasn't a financial success. And one of the things that when this shutdown was announced and all of the drama was happening around that, I appreciate on one side that this was the most exciting new IP to come out as an Xbox first party in a really long time. And that's true. I don't disagree at all. It was very cool. On the other hand, you're talking about it coming from a studio that hasn't been financially viable in over a decade, it seems, and that even this hit game, Hi-Fi Rush, didn't change it. And another point that came out that got a little bit of talk was how, all of the drama around Xbox putting first party games on other platforms like PlayStation. Well, when they did that with Sea of Thieves, it was a big deal. It had huge player numbers, was very popular. When they did it with Grounded, not as big as Sea of Thieves, but still, in their top, 10, top 20 list of game sales on PlayStation. But they also did Hi-Fi Rush, and it wasn't even a blip on the radar. And it started to give this idea that, with these multi-platform games that are being introduced from Xbox, from their first party lineup, that their multiplayer games seem like they have an audience on PlayStation. It seems like there's a thirst for that, where it seems like maybe the first party games, PlayStation fans kind of have their thing that they like. They like that action adventure, third person, styled sad dad game, right? And Hi-Fi Rush is amazing, and it didn't make any kind of impact at all. To argue with myself, a big part of this lack of sales for Hi-Fi was almost certainly the shadow drop. If you don't remember, Xbox had I believe it was in, 2023, even that feels like forever ago now. They had a showcase of upcoming games and so on. And they shadow dropped it. It was in the late winter, early spring timeframe. This was also when they were leading up to the release of Redfall. What's interesting, at least in my opinion, is that there was an opportunity for them to market Hi-Fi Rush the way that they marketed Redfall over a decent amount of time, get a lot of hype going, and I think it would have done extremely well. It would have done at least better than it did. And they could have just shadow dropped Redfall. It seemed obvious, which was, the Arcane Austin, who made that, who was also shut down along with Tango. I think there was an opportunity to get Redfall out of the way, be like, hey, here's a shadow drop. We kind of know it's not great. We'll keep working on it. We'll try to make it better. And then here's this new game. And I think that probably would have been better for everybody. Now, at the end of the day, Redfall was a huge failure. Hi-Fi Rush was a critical success, but financial, probably not. It seems like it wasn't. And both of those studios got shut down. It's cool that Tango's coming back. Again, kind of the whole point of this video, I'm really curious to see what happens in the long run. I worry that the same reasons that Microsoft and Xbox, and even before them, ZeniMax and Bethesda, weren't able to make Tango Gameworks a viable studio are even more true now than they were before. And I don't know, if you look at Krafton and their history and even their current lineup, I have zero faith that they can handle this studio and this franchise any better than Xbox did. Uh, and I worry this is just delaying the inevitable. For the Tango Gameworks folks, best case scenario here is they make Hi-Fi Rush 2. It's awesome. It sells extremely well. It makes Xbox look really, really stupid, gives them the biggest L of this generation. Cool, everyone rejoices and continues to, take out the punching bag that everyone's made Xbox into, which they've earned to a point. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is we don't even see Hi-Fi Rush 2, or we do and it's been underfunded and the publisher isn't equipped to really market it, and and they end up getting shut down anyways, or turned into another mobile studio, which is what Crafton is seems like they're best at, along with PUBG. So it's curious times. This was an interesting announcement. At the end of the day, I'm happy that jobs are being retained, that people will continue to get to work on a thing that they obviously love. I would love to see Hi-Fi Rush 2 be awesome and amazing and, prove everyone wrong, including myself, if you've listened to most of this video. But I don't think I'm wrong, and we'll have to wait and see. I can't wait for everyone to dunk on me inevitably if I am. So, but if I'm right, we'll never hear about it, and that's the nature of how these things go. So, let me know what you think about Crafton saving Tango Gameworks, what you think about Hi-Fi Rush, if you think a sequel can be a big enough game to justify the studio being brought back. If you really like this video, consider becoming a subscriber. Hit the like button if you liked it. If you really want to support my content, get videos like this early, have a little logo beside your name when you comment and so on, consider becoming a YouTube member. You can check out all of my other content and other ways to support everything I do in the link in the description of this video. That's all I have for this one. So until next time.